different questions for you before we begin. So first off, how long have you been playing Overwatch for?
Um, I think I started on console and then I switched over to PC.
Hmm.
Um, maybe on and off in season like 16 or something like that.
Okay. So then that would have been like a year or two
Yeah,
years ish. Okay. So then let's say like the past 2 weeks or so. How often have you been playing the game?
past 2 weeks. Uh, like 2 or 3 times a week, maybe,
Okay. And then how many hours roughly on those 2 to 3 times?
maybe two,
Two
2.5
hours?
hours.
Two and a
Yeah.
half hours. Okay. Sounds good. So I would just real quickly throw out like a disclaimer before we move on to the last question in comparison to some of the other people that play this game is a lower amount of time. Now, not to say that if you especially like if it's just a fun little hobby you have on the side that you need to put in more time, but just as a warning that it can be hard to practice and improve if you don't have time to practice and improve. So just keep that as in mind as you go through that coaching definitely can speed up the process, but especially if you lack in practice time that can be one of the biggest things holding someone back from climbing an SR or something of that sort if that's your goal. So that's just something I would recommend. That's why I asked those questions anyways in the beginning. So moving on to the last question is, do you have any questions for me before we begin?
No, not right now.
Okay. So then also you gave me two codes. Is this the first code's finally over, yeah?
Sorry.
So you gave me two codes. Did you want to go over, like, we might not be able to get through both of them. Did you want to go over, oh, I guess this one's only a 7 minute game, but did you want to go over this one first or the second one first?
We can go with this one. This one's
All right, sounds good. So yep, I'll just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about. Actually, never mind. I'm dumb. We're doing it for 2 hours, aren't we? So we'll be able to finish it. Just no
fine. Okay.
problem. No problem. We'll probably get through both of them.
Barrier activated. Get in position.
Okay, like some of the spam damage we're putting out there.
See that which is unseen.
I excited the ending.
Okay, so already, I think I'm noticing one thing. So we're just gonna exit out here. Are you familiar with what crosshair placement is?
Uh, yeah, I mean, was it just putting the crosshair where you want
With
to
every
shoot?
death
Yeah,
comes
so crosshair
honor.
placement's basically
With
placing
honor,
your crosshair in the
redemption.
best place possible to hit the easiest and the most shots, right? So what that means is a lot of the times really basic first big step to crosshair placement is making sure we're aiming head level, and this will up the frequency of headshots that we're hitting. Now here when we were just spamming down choke, we were aiming around like body level on people, which means that, you know, if we're to hit headshots, which obviously do much more damage, right? We want to be hitting headshots. We have to adjust up very far, and then that means like, you know, the further we have to adjust to hit shots, the harder the shot is to hit, right? Like this is gonna be a harder shot to hit than if we're just going a little bit to the side. So more adjustment means harder shots. So if we're already aiming at this head level, it makes the shots easier. So let's just say, for example, we're aiming at body level, we're just spamming at people, we're spamming around a corridor. We're sorry for background noise here. We're spamming down a corridor, right? We're spamming into shields, spamming into tanks, whatever. If we're just aiming body level, we're just hitting body shots. But if we are just, for example, spamming down the corridor like we were just doing in that game, and we're aiming head level, now let's say a shot slips through the cracks. Well, now this shot is just automatically aimed at head level, and it just naturally hits headshots, right? So we just get these natural headshots just because we're already aiming there. So this is just going to up. It's not going to make 100% of your shots headshots. In fact, it's probably going to be closer to like on Hanzo, I believe like 14% would be a good number-ish range of shots will be headshots, but it definitely will up the frequency in which you hit them. So that will definitely be good. Now, second step to crosshair placement is aiming where we know people are going to be. So therefore, if we know this person's on the top right, we can even Sonic to make this easier to see, right? We can pre-aim at head level right around the corner so that when he comes around the corner, we just hit a very easy shot because he just walked into it. Very little adjustment needed. already left side, so we're pre-aiming left side, already aiming head level, turn the corner, very easy shot, already aiming at his head, right? These guys, they're on a little bit more of a slope, so the same way we'd look down on a Torb and up on a tank, we're going to look down on these guys, so when we turn around the corner here, we're already, we're aiming at them. So just things to keep in mind. On top of that, if we are trying to hit a head level, keep in mind that on Hanzo, when we're far away from people, that we do have to aim up a little bit because your shots do drop just ever so slightly. So if we're aiming at the head here, our shot's just gonna hit the body, right? So we actually need to aim just right above their head. So it would be somewhat like this right here, and then that will actually hit their head. So keeping all this in mind to mean that we probably want to be aiming up a little bit more when we're just spamming down that corridor. That way we can hit a few more shots and headshots in there, which will result in more damage and more kills.
Yeah.
Alright, so we were on Blizzard World.
Welcome to Blizzard. Ready for battle.
So we were 8. Alright. So you can just see how we're aiming down a little bit on these guys here,
See that
where
which is unseen.
like you can just see Crosshair Placement, for example, in comparison to Ana, how if we're trying to hit a headshot on Ana, we would need to aim up higher.
I've sighted the enemy.
Right, or the Reinhardt, for example. So I don't want to spend too much time on this topic, but I'm just letting you see it in your gameplay, where we are aiming pretty low on them, and then therefore we're hitting a bunch of body shots into the Reinhardt. Okay, as our team's pushing forwards, this would probably be a good time for us to be pushing forwards, as we want to be getting closer, not sitting at this, sniper Widowmaker range, as that's not the range in which Hanzo prefers to be at. Though we'll go more in depth on that if it comes up more often. For the moment, we just want to make sure that, like, if we see our teams pushing forwards, we want to push forwards with them instead of just sitting all the way in the back here. Also, at the moment, we should probably be requesting healing to give our supports an in-game audio cue to the fact that we need healing, and that'll get us healing faster and more efficiently. So it's just a good habit to get into. Though here at the moment, we're just kind of chilling at 50, and we're not really we're not requesting any at all. So that means that we just get by one little, one shot, and we're dead. Oh, oof, 1 HP. Right, like we get. If we were down 1 HP, we'd be dead there. So, just getting healing faster here. We don't want to be sitting at 1 HP. Okay, and then that happens, right? So make sure we're paying attention to our health bar. Every time we take damage, we should be glancing at it, right? So you'd want to glance at it constantly, but when we see, for example, like something like this, where we get hit by something from indicators like that, like you get hit, you hear your character groan, you see right above your crosshair, you see a damage indicator, and usually those will be bigger as well. For some reason, that's really tiny, but usually it'll be bigger. A lot of times you'll see it at the very top of your screen too, where you'll get all red on the screen. So just make sure we're glancing our health bar and requesting healing when we see that we're that low, so we don't end up dying. Alright. Because now that loses any momentum that we had there. Alright. So what we're going to talk about this now, because we're at 2 minutes. So far we have not made any attempts to push closer, so we're going to talk about the Hanzo's preferred ranges. So, contrary to what his character might be called in game, Hanzo is not a sniper. Hanzo can snipe, Hanzo does not like to snipe. So Hanzo can hit headshots from this range and can one-shot, but the issue is that it's going to be very inaccurate, because at this range they are going to be very, very tiny targets, and when you're much closer, something is going to be much bigger. And Hanzo does not have a scope, and Hanzo does not have a lowered sensitivity like Widowmaker, for example, and then therefore these shots are going to be very, very inaccurate at this range, because of just the distance in which he's at. So therefore, though Hanzo can hit one-shots from this distance, he does not prefer this distance, whereas so far in our gameplay, we've been kind of sitting at this distance the entire time for the past like 2 minutes of our gameplay, right? Where we just have not made any effort to push closer when we have had the clear opportunity. So the ranges in which Hanzo does prefer are not going to be close ranges either, because Hanzo is a mid-range character. He does not prefer to be up here, because there's just he can play up here the same way he can play back there if needed to, but he doesn't prefer this because there's a lot of other characters in the game who have better close range, such as McCree, such as Junkrat, such as Reaper, Mei, Reinhardt, etc. right? There's a lot of characters who can just do better at a close range than Hanzo. Therefore, he probably prefers a range that's probably like 15 meters, right, to like 35 meters ish, right? Within this range, roughly, we want to be within it. That way, we can be hitting shots that are semi-accurate, while also keeping our distance away from people, right? Whereas if we're trying to snipe people from all the way back here, they're going to be moving around. We're just going to be very, very inaccurate, as well as we're now having to go. We also have to adjust for drop a little bit, which can make it harder to aim as well. So overall, try to get a little bit closer, whereas here we're just kind of sniping, so you're going to be missing a lot of your shots if we're just spending our whole game at that distance.
Okay.
Okay, now,
Welcome to
that's the
Blizzard
range in
Ready
which
for
Widowmaker
battle.
might prefer to be at, right? So that's a little bit different. Like on Widowmaker, that's fine, but you're not on Widowmaker, so we have to adjust where we're positioning based on the character we're playing.
See
So like
through
here,
the
you know, our whole
wolf's
team's
eyes.
forwards. We could just continue to walk forwards here. We just kind of chill at this distance. Okay. My team is at a significant advantage now. We're still just kind of sitting around. We're still just kind of sitting in the back here. Probably want to be getting much more aggressive here at the moment, because we are up a bunch of people. So let's talk about what's it called? So let's talk about just aggression real quick. Also, can I ask real quick, because I don't think that you put it. Oh, never mind, you did. I missed that. I was about to ask SR. I was just glancing at 5 real quick. So you're gold at the moment, yeah. So then, in any case, let's talk about watching kill feed. So, if we pay attention to kill feed, that's how we can tell when we're winning or losing fights. If we look at the top right corner of our screen, that tells us when we're up or down people. When we are up 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage, right? That's what we are at currently, where it is a 6v, or actually, sorry, I'd say, one moment, sorry, readjusting thoughts here. So 1 to 2 people is an advantage, right? When we're at an advantage, we want to play aggressively because they have less people to shoot at us, less people to do damage, less people to heal, less people to tank, right? Overall, we're at a player advantage, therefore we get more aggressive. So far, look how far back we're playing. We're not going to get heals like this if we're playing this far back. We're not requesting healing, and we're also not going to be within a range in which we can actually do anything, right? So moving on, right, 2 to 3 is where you have won the fight, right? That's where you have such a big player advantage that you've basically won it. So, and if that is the case, you no longer want to use ults because that would just be overkill, and you want to get super aggressive. That way you can kill the rest of the players and it gets stagger kills and whatnot, get more ult charge. Now, this also goes the exact opposite way when you are down 1 to 2 people. That is a disadvantage, right? That you haven't lost the fight yet, but you are losing the fight, so you might want to play more passive. So on top of that, 2 to 3 is a lost fight. That is where you want to not use any ults because that would just be wasting it. And then you either want to get out if possible, and if you cannot get out, you want to try to let them just kill you and just suicide. That way you can regroup with your team, right? Now, here in this situation, we are up at, this is a 1 fight right now because we are, though it is 2 players, we also have a very significant advantage. They don't have any other advantage on their side. They can probably bring this back as of the moment. So we are pretty solidly winning this. I'd probably say this is either a massive advantage or a 1 fight at the moment. Whereas we're just kind of sitting really, really far back when we should be pushing forwards and getting aggressive. And we also are not requesting healing still, which is meaning that we're sitting at 50 HP, and we're not making any efforts to get back up to full HP. Okay, so we're just sitting really, really far out of the fight here, taking a lot of time out, which just means that we're not there to participate. So instead of that being a 4v6, it was more like a 4v5, which took it from being a pretty much 1 fight to being now we're just at a slight advantage just because we didn't participate at all there. And then because of our lack of participation, they actually were able to bring back some kills there, and now they're actually winning this fight, it looks like, because now it's a 1 2 3 4 versus a 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? So now because we did not participate there, because we backed off, we're playing so passive, they were able to bring that fight around because we didn't capitalize on the advantage that we were given.
Allow me to repair the damage.
Okay, noticing the cross placement again and how we're body level on Reinhardt and then just body level on Ashe, and then therefore that's a body shot that could potentially have been a headshot if we're just aiming up higher. Okay, Orisa, good bongo. All right.
See through the wolf's
Uh-oh, that hit the pillar.
I am ready to unleash the wolf.
Okay, so hopefully here I would imagine we're going to be waiting on our grab and then combo our ultimates together. That should hopefully be the plan as of the moment. Though they do have a transcendence, so we're going to have to be watchful of that. Okay, here, take high ground. High ground's gonna be great for you. Just go top right to where your Ashe is at. I guess we'll just real quick, because you can just go over all of them really fast. High grounds, right? High grounds are very fantastic for you, right? First off, all of high grounds act as natural cover, so they can see us. Now they can't see us. We just back away from the ledge and they can't see us anymore, right? So that means it acts as natural cover. That adds extra survivability. Secondly, most characters in the game can't instantly get up to you without a staircase. Reinhardt can't reach you. Sorry, I can't reach you. Right? Ana can't reach you, and then I don't even know where their other player is. Their Zenyatta can't reach you. Right? Unless they're going around to the stairway, and then the characters that can need to use abilities, which adds an extra layer of survivability. Right? On top of that, you also have a ton of visibility from high grounds. Right? We can see over here. We can see over here. We can see over over here and over here. Right? We can see all over the place, whereas if we're on a low ground, well, now we can't see over there, over there, over there, or any of the high grounds, right? So high ground gives you a ton of advantages. Probably if it's just right next to you, Hanzo can just climb up there. He doesn't require any abilities. So you can just very easily take the high ground just whenever to look to take it.
Not yet.
Oh, there, actually we do. Never mind. All taken back a little bit. Point still stands that it's good, but good job taking it.
See that which is unseen.
Though the issue comes in again that we're just playing way too passive just all the time. So, in general, you have kind of an aggressiveness scale where where 0% is passive, right? Very passive. 100% is very aggressive, right? At 50% is your neutral. So when we're coming in on first fight where neither team has that an advantage or a disadvantage, you're playing at a neutral at 50%. Is where you should be at, right? Because you don't have an advantage or a disadvantage. Now, when you have advantages, you play more aggressively. When you have disadvantages, you play less aggressively, right? This can be a bunch of different things, such as health bar, abilities. Which team has more ultimates, which team has more advantages. But then also just kill feed is a really easy way to do this. So when you are up one person, you bump it up from a 50 to 60, right? 2 people 70, 3 people 80, etc. Same thing the other way, right? You are down a person, now you're dropping it to 40%, right? Where you're getting less aggressive and less aggressive the less people you have and the less advantages you have. Now, so far within our game, right, your average, like we said, should be around the 50 mark. Where you're coming into fights, your neutral should be 50, but our neutral seems to be more like a 20, right? Where we're coming into fights and we just kind of sit around and it like really far in the back and just kind of exist, right? We're not attempting to make plays. We're not attempting to push at all. We're not really doing anything at all. We're just kind of sitting there like we're down multiple people when we're not. When we're at a neutral advantage. So we want to make sure we're actually looking to do more and be a little bit more aggressive. No, I don't want you to all of a sudden go to 80 or 100 within your games. I just want you to dial it up to a 50 when you're neutral, and then you go to 80, 100 when you're winning fights, right? And you dial it up when you're winning, dial it down when you're losing. But our average so far has just been way too low, where we're just kind of sitting in the back, playing too passive and not doing enough.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's an instance during a lost fight where we kind of let's see, no. Yeah, that's an instance where maybe we just let them kill us a bit faster if we're unlikely to make it get away. Because notice now how our entire team is really far ahead of us. This is called staggering. Are you familiar with that term?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Stagger.
Yeah, so staggering, just dying late. So here we die late, and then that means that our whole team is up here, and then that means that maybe Zarya might die, and then that now that she staggers too, and then this starts a stagger train where our team just trickles in one by one, and we end up just going in a circle and while we're waiting for people. So overall, make sure we're if we know that we can't get out there, we just let them kill us faster. That way we don't end up dying super late and not being able to group up with their
60
team.
seconds remaining.
Because what this could also mean is if Zarya went in and grabbed there, we wouldn't be there to drag in it.
See through the
Okay, so they just used the
wolf's
Transcendence,
eyes.
which is really good, and for some reason Ashe bobbed off the map. While we're walking back, we didn't use our leap at all, right? Or I guess we used it once coming out of spawn, but now we're not using leap at all while we're
See
pushing in.
through
Use
the
your leap.
wolf's
It's only like
eyes.
a couple seconds of a cooldown. No need to hold on to it. All right. Make sure you're using your leap coming back. Secondly, what do we do with our Sonic here? With your Sonic, you are not trying to hit people with your Sonic, right? Sonic is not meant for people. Sonic is meant for objects. If you're trying to hit somebody, it's going to be very, very inaccurate, and it's just going to go off into nothingness, such as that Sonic arrow. What would be much more efficient to do with your Sonic arrow would be to hit something like this wall, where now you can get this entire radius around the wall. You have to remember that the Sonic arrow does not have any utility besides revealing locations, and then therefore your goal with it is not to hit somebody with it, but your goal is to hit an object in which you can reveal the area around that said object, right? So that Sonic arrow just goes off into nothingness. Now, let's say we had put it in this wall right here. Well, now that means that when Zarya grabs, we're able to see where the grab is, because we can see they're all grouped up around that wall. So that reveals a lot more information to us than if we just try to hit somebody directly, which, we could get the same amount of information by hitting someone directly. It's just a lot less efficient because that's a very inaccurate shot to try to hit. So aim for the wall, don't aim from people with your Sonic. Besides that, when we do grab here, we're very delayed, right? We're very delayed with this grab. Now we can't see where they are when she grabs, but we can see our Zarya through the wall, right? And we also have audio, right? So here we look at our Zarya, and if we're paying attention, right, we can see that she's looking down, right, at the floor when she uses it. Oh wait, where's the graph? I didn't hear the graph. And then we can also hear where the graph is maybe, and we can we can assume that's going to be somewhere on point. So in any case, we just want to be throwing our dragon a little bit sooner, because the later we throw it, the less value it's going to be, because now they're no longer clumped up, right? By the time the dragon reaches them, right, we have a big old delay, and then by the time our dragon reaches them, right, their grab had already ended before it even is getting close to them, right? Just because it's such a delayed dragon, because we had staggered ourselves, and also because we weren't using our leap to get back. Therefore, our big ultimate combo gets wasted because we were not in position. Right, and then again, it's just another fight where we weren't really able to participate in, where we weren't able to do anything.
The wolf marks his prey.
Okay, there we are not fully charging our shots. Make sure we're fully charging our shots. They are going to be doing more damage. They're going to be more accurate. They're going to be a consistent speed in firing, which will allow you to be able to hit them better and more accurately because you're used to the projectile speed. So overall, make sure we're fully charging your shots, whereas there we just sent in like 3 that were not fully charged.
Let them up.
10 seconds remaining.
We have an understood.
All right. So yep, lot of things so far.
Ready for battle. Attackers ready for battle. 5, 4, 3, 2,
All right.
1. Attackers
So
incoming. Defend objective A.
I wouldn't even go for a Helix on a Pharah unless she's close to you, just because of how inaccurate that's going to be. It's like trying to fire a storm arrow at somebody. Instead, fire it down the corridor into the group of people where it's much more likely to actually connect with something. Is something I would do there.
Team,
Good health
heal up
pack for
here.
yourself.
Allow me to repair the damage. Help me.
Come here and get stabilized.
Okay, there we just kind of plopped down a health pack when it didn't really do anything. Right, I guess we healed up like 30 HP, right? Request healing for that. You know, there's no reason to use an ability to heal up that much, right? When you're not really in danger, you might need it some point in the near future. And then, you know, maybe you're thinking, oh, well, I can use it for my team. Well, teammates around us don't really need it. Reaper might need it here, but he's not anywhere close to us, which should mean that, you know, we could have just put it like 2 seconds
here and
later
get
and then helped him out.
Der Kampf ist noch.
All right. Make sure you're having line of sight on the fight. Here we don't have line of sight on the fight. Let's also I'm trying to think. Let's talk about actions per minute, as we seem to have a very low actions per minute. This is very closely connected with what we were talking before about our aggression and how we're constantly playing at a 20%. But actions per minute is basically just how often are we doing things? How often are we actually getting stuff done? And if you look at a Grandmaster player in comparison to like a Bronze player, you can see this very apparently. Where a Grandmaster player with mistakes, you know, mixed in there, will be efficient with basically every single second of their time, right? Whereas if you look at a Bronze player, they might go pew pew shoot 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 shoot, and then all of a sudden they might take a 10-second pause, right, for just no reason, or then they'll be like, okay, I'm back, I'm in a fight, I forgot, right, and then they'll start go pew pew shoot shoot, and then all of a sudden they'll start admiring the scenery, and they'll get distracted again, right? Whereas, you know, the comparison is doing things much more often. Whereas notice our gameplay, this happens a lot where we'll just become distracted, or we'll stop doing things randomly, or we'll just here we're not in line of sight of the fight, so to where we go, we just, you'll notice there's like a 5 to probably like 7 second gap where we just don't do anything. So we shoot here, we shoot, wait, we shoot, and then they boop away. And then notice how the entire fight's happening up here, and we can see our whole team is pushing and getting aggressive, yet we're sitting in the back not really doing anything. And we're gonna go one, oh wait, see Genji, right? So we go shoot, shoot, 1, 2,
Der Kampf ist
3,
noch.
4, 5, and then an extra second because we didn't shoot at the Genji. So, you know, like 5, 6 seconds there where we just weren't really doing anything when they're, you know, when the fight was happening. And then therefore, because we weren't doing anything while the fight was happening, right now we weren't able to have impact during that time, right? We're basically down a player during that time. It's as if we were dead where we weren't doing anything at all. So we want to make sure we're doing things more often. We're putting ourselves in line of sight of the fight, paying attention to what's going on around us.
This will heal you. Enemy.
Get over here and heal up.
What we want with it.
This will only hurt for long.
Alright, so current positioning isn't so great. I don't like that we're not taking high grounds here. So preferably when they were pushing in originally, I'd probably say best positioning would be to set up on the top left. And in between fights, it'd probably be a good idea to set up on top left. Then we can, if we start to get contested by Genji or Pharah, we can drop very easily and just run back to our team on point. Very easy to do, but this would get us a lot closer to them, as Soldier also has a medium distance like that he prefers instead of a long distance, just like Hanzo, and even more so than Hanzo. And then on top of that, this also acts as a good off angle where we're taking a different angle from our team. This gets us around shields and tanks, and this also creates a crossfire effect to where they're distracted from a different angle. It splits the resources and means they can't shield both main and us at the same time, so one or the other gets left behind and not distracted, or and nothing happens. Here as well, we should probably, whenever they are pushing the point, we preferably would be rotating up to this high ground up here, to where now we get all the advantages that come along with the high grounds like we discussed previously, instead of being isolated alone on the side like we are currently. So how we can do that is maybe when they're pushing in, instead of being on the right side here, we could be on the left side, where again we can get an off angle, a different angle from this is the main angle right here where a whole team is positioned. This would get us an off angle, get us around shields, tanks, create a crossfire effect, and then on top of that, this would put us closer to the stairway, which will allow us to run up faster and sooner and get to this high ground. Whereas if we're on the right side here, to get over to that high ground, we have to go all the way around, right, which takes much longer. So just keeping in mind positioning, look to position on off angles and flanks on soldier, and then also want to be taking high grounds instead of sitting on the low ground. And that's the big issues there. Yep. Overall, we also do seem to have just trouble just generally mechanically. Let's talk this. The game's over now, I think. So let's talk on real quick. Let's just talk on strengths and weaknesses of what we've seen so far. So ability usage. So far, we talked about Hanzo and Soldier. Not the biggest of deals. Like, we've seen a couple tiny things with them here and there, but overall they've been okay. On Soldier in particular, our sprinting has been okay. Our health pack usage, maybe we've dropped them a couple times when they weren't really necessary. And then we could have used them in better instances. Then our Helix usage, the big thing is that I like to see you using it as a finisher more often, whereas a lot of times we just kind of chuck them in there, which is okay, but we want to use it to finish off people so we can get a big burst of damage in there when people are low. So probably want to look to use it like that more often. And then on Hanzo's, sonicking, into walls, not into people. And then besides that, using our leap more often, just because it's an ability that comes back every 2 seconds, right? Then overall, I'd probably say just ability usage goes to probably like a low to medium priority for you to be working on. Now, ultimate usage, we have seen one single ultimate, so I'm definitely going to need to see more ultimates before I put before I put a lot of before I actually give a accurate placement on it. But for the moment, the one that I saw was very delayed, and we also were just but there were a lot of other things that went into it, like just mess up with Sonic, mess up with staggering, mess up with not using our abilities, or just like a lot of things that went into that one. But it still wasn't the greatest. For now, though, we'll put it at a low to medium priority as well, and then we'll adjust it as we go along and see more ultimates. But the next 3, I would probably say, are the big ones here. So first off, let's talk about mechanics. Mechanics, there's a ton of things, right? So first off, we have crosshair placement, aiming ahead level and where we know people are going to be. Secondly, we have actions per minute, of making sure we're actually doing things and actually shooting at things more often. Besides that, we also have just general mechanics of being able to shoot at things more effectively. That just needs us to put work into it, as we don't seem to have the best of tracking and just aiming in general. So we want to make sure we're putting in effort into that. Overall in mechanics, trying to think of where I put it. Probably say mechanics is gonna go around a medium to a medium high. Why don't we place that at a medium for now, and then as I talk about the other ones, maybe we'll adjust it here. So that'll go at a medium priority. Moving on, positioning, I'd probably say is one of the other big ones here. Where we want to make sure we're positioning on high grounds, taking high grounds whenever they're an option, making sure that we are not standing so far back. On Soldier as well as Hanzo, we'll talk about this real quick, as Soldier has a little bit even more of a reason that he can't play at long distances, yet we were trying to play as a sniper again on Soldier, where Soldier, right, definitely wants to be playing at a mid-range, right? When we are playing all the way back here, you have what you call fall-off damage, right? When we're right here, right, we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Whereas if we're back here, right, now we're only doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Now we take more shots to kill, right? We do this, right? And we back up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, 10, 11, something like that, right? 11, I think it is what it is. So the further away we back up, the less and less damage you're doing. That'll become even more apparent when you're trying to go for body shots. So Soldier definitely, as well as it just being much more inaccurate at this distance. So Soldier definitely prefers a closer range, though again, he does not prefer a very close range. Keep a medium range, right? So I'd probably say on Soldier, you're going to want to keep like that 15 meters to probably, I'd say... I'd probably say similar to Hanzo, 15 to 30 or 35 roughly is the range which you want to have him at. So just make sure we're keeping a medium distance on Hanzo and Soldier, not sniping with them. Make sure that with them, let's see, they were taking off angles, and we're taking, on Soldier specifically, you can take flanks too. The difference between the two would be a flank is long and or dangerous, a off angle is short and safe. So main angle, this would be an off angle real quick to just come around here, right? If they're right here, our team's right here, this is the main angle, right? A flank would be if we went all the way around, right? So flank is longer, is more dangerous, but Soldier can do this a lot of the times because he has his sprint and he has his health pack. Hanzo cannot do that. Don't go for flanks on Hanzo, pretty much ever, but you can go on off angles for both of them. So just look to be going for both of those, though I would recommend against trying to go for long flanks in the middle of fights, because then you're just, again, not participating at all. Okay, so overall, positioning really mess with your, like, you have to keep in mind that you know, someone can have the best mechanics in the world, which unfortunately you don't, but you could have the best mechanics in the world and still not be able to act on it or do anything with those mechanics if you don't have good positioning to, because positioning supports mechanics. So far we have not had positioning that supports our mechanics, and therefore our, you know, our mechanics are made even worse by a lack of good positioning. So positioning overall, I'd probably say probably goes even above our mechanics for the moment, and we'll say positioning goes to like a medium high, of making sure we're just putting ourselves in better positions to actually do things from. Then moving on to awareness. Awareness is paying attention to what's going on around us, right? With awareness, we have paying attention to our health bar, where there are a lot of time, and requesting healing. A lot of times we just weren't paying attention to that, paying attention to what's happening in kill feed, right? You know, whether we're up or down, and then adjusting accordingly, right? We'll mix this in as well. We'll call this awareness / aggression. Whereas we just have not been playing aggressive at all. We've just been playing passive the entire time. Whereas we want to be in a flux state, so paying attention to that scale where we want to be 50% and adjusting up and down. Whereas we haven't been doing that. We've been 20% and then not adjusting up and down, right? Besides that, with awareness, just paying attention to where's the enemy team, where's our team, and just paying attention to all those things. So overall, I'd probably say awareness / aggression goes to medium high as well, medium high priority. All three of these top ones are pretty tied up. I honestly, thinking about it more,
We all got it coming.
I'd probably like just pretty much for the moment. We'll have another hour, you know, and a half-ish here to talk about those and adjust them up and down. But for the moment, we'll just tie up all the three of those for medium-high priority, and then the other two just go at a lower one at a low to medium priority. So that's just where all of them stand for the moment, and we can move on to the next one. Did you have any questions so far about anything we've talked about?
No, not right now.
Okay, sounds good. So let me get up the next one then.
Welcome to Junkrat. Ready for battle.
You
2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Okay, decent positioning to start off here.
get over here and heal up.
Do we just drop? Alright, though we do drop voluntarily from the high ground, I'd probably say just avoid that. Ball was not low enough for that to be a worthwhile chase, right? You don't want to just drop from high ground to chase somebody who's full HP and is probably almost guaranteed to get away. There's like probably like if Hog land, the only way this would possibly work out is like if a Hog landed a hook to pull him back, but there's probably like a 99% chance that Ball makes it out alive here, so therefore we just kind of gave up high ground for nothing in this instance. So in this situation, probably just try to keep the high ground, that way you don't have to run all the way back up there. Okay, notice again the positioning in which we're putting ourselves from or this positioning in which we're putting ourselves at. We're putting ourselves at a sniper range where now we're closer to that like 45-meter mark, right? Maybe 50 meters, where we're so insanely far back that we're not gonna be able to do any accurate damage or damage at all. So instead, best positioning here would be to just run right up the stairs and retake this high ground, get all the high ground positionings, and just shoot at them from here. Or the second best would just be to shoot at them from here. Or alternatively, if we wanted to, we can also just run all the way around and shoot at them from the side here, maybe pick off the Widowmaker. But definitely the worst positioning possible. I mean, I guess not the worst positioning, but one of the worst positions we could be in would be to just be right here. On top of that, this is very far out in the open, which we might discuss here if it comes up. So let's see.
Help me.
Okay,
An expedient.
we got a kill. Alright, let's talk on this as well, because we're also not using very good positioning. So, positioning. Basically, if we are standing right here, it takes us, like, to get to the nearest cover, which I'd probably say is, like, right over here. It takes us probably, like, 1, 2, 2-ish seconds, maybe 3 max, right? 2 seconds to get behind cover. Now, in that time it took us to get behind cover, Widowmaker just sniped us and we're dead, right? Because we are too far away from cover. Now, if we are right here, for example, now if somebody starts shooting at us, like we see Widowmaker aiming at us or something of that sort, it now takes us half a second to duck behind cover, which is going to be like 4 times faster than what it took us previously. So that means that right here we have a lot more survivability to be able to stay alive. So therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover. Now over here, I'd probably say isn't even that great because on this side of the map there's not a ton of cover. You just have this like once in a while tiny little areas, where something over here has a lot more cover to work with because you have this big building and you have this high ground that you can use. So right now we're standing in bad positioning, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover, where there's no cover anywhere. Right now we're definitely in an absence of cover, very far back, and then therefore this positioning is a very big deal because now we're not going to be in angles we're on angles to hit people from. We're way too far back, and we're out in the open, which is going to get us killed very easily. Okay, very nice. Okay, we got some kills in there. So I just say at the moment this is an example of just our mistake not being punished, right? Because they're not shooting at us or looking at us. But so just keep in mind that just because a mistake's not punished doesn't mean it's not a mistake. We could have very easily been shot there, especially if we're considering us being at a higher rank. We'd have more people looking at us.
Come here and get stabilized.
Okay, we don't seem to be going for helixes very often to finish, keeping in mind that it does do like 120 damage to people. So right here, where Widowmaker is probably like, if I had to guess, like 140, sort of 126, right? And she also has a Discord on her. That if we just threw in a helix now, right, we'd pretty much get all of our HP. So just make sure we're using helix as a finisher, whereas here we don't, use it at all. It's a pretty fast cooldown, and we don't seem to be. The only time we ever use it is just to get in like chunky. Like there, we were just kind of launch it in down a corridor. That's the only time I've really seen us use it, besides like the Genji that we just killed. So I like to see you use it a lot more often as a finisher to get people to finish off kills. Again, positioning's not the best. Because we're on the right side here, you probably want to be on the left side. The left side has more room to back up to. You have the high ground you can take. Right side is not the best at all here. So just positioning is a big deal at the moment. Okay, I like that we didn't hold on to our ultimate. That's good. Though again, the positioning for it isn't great. Very nice kill. We also know that the Genji's like right around this corner, and we could probably run over and kill him, and it'd probably be more efficient than trying to shoot at a ball with this time. So here we just have better targets to be shooting at that I'd probably be looking for. Also make sure that when we're not shooting at anything in particular that we stop shooting. So here we're just shooting at a wall and into nothing there, and then floor, right? So just make sure we're letting go, and you can use that time to reload if you want to, but just make sure we're stopping ourselves from just holding down the button. Okay, good health pack, right, is what I meant to say there. But there we get sniped by Widowmaker, just because again we're standing out in the open without any cover usage, right? And then therefore we die. So just watching our positioning.
I'm not a young man anymore.
Very nice Helix. Don't go for it. This is not a situation in which you can. Pay attention to your teammates and who you have around you right now. It is basically just you and Hog in this fight. So it is a 1-2 versus a 1-2-3 for they're about to res the Widowmaker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if we're counting Reinhardt, and then almost 6 here in a moment. So right now we're suiciding here. We're running into a fight that is already lost, and then all this is going to do is stagger us further. If we just instead looked to just hold this high ground and keep up here, now we can deny that. This is really great positioning, because we can deny them from taking high ground. If they try to come high ground, they have this choke point that they have to walk through, which is very bad positioning for them. And then we can just, if they come down main, we have this very fantastic high ground in which we can just shoot them from above this entire time. So overall, we're giving up very fantastic positioning to just go in and suicide and then stagger ourselves, right? Because we're not paying attention to what's going on around us, and that's a big awareness problem here, right? There's like a 1% chance or lower that we would actually have accomplished anything there, right? So actually, we did respawn. I think our teammates got enough time for us to respawn, but then we drew them into staggering, and we staggered both our tanks, right? And then now they're both not here, whereas they probably could have both stayed alive if we had not tried to run in and die.
Touch from afar.
Okay. Yeah, we should probably be backing up here if possible, though our team seems to be wanting to hold it.
My barrier's down. Jag fixar dig.
Everyone, heal up.
No one needs healing at the moment.
That's så. There they are.
Probably be using this, this time in which we have nothing to do. We're waiting on our tanks. We can't do anything from this range. I would be using this time to rotate up to the high ground, probably through top right, and then we can use this, this positioning to just get an off angle on Widowmaker and be, you'd have a much greater chance to be able to kill her from this angle, and because she's not looking here, you're not going to be contested from her, and she can't just snipe you right out of nowhere. So something like that, or we can also run up here to this high ground, right? Just take the high grounds, much better positioning. Overall, it's been just so far positioning. Now, I also do think the mechanics are a very big issue, but because we don't have good positioning, we're not able to we're not able to clearly see how good your mechanics are, because you're always trying to snipe people, and then therefore that makes it hard to see even how good your tracking is or how good your aim is, just because of the natural difficulty in aiming from that distance. So definitely positioning is at the moment looking like the first thing to work on and improve on, and then the next thing, the rest can come after that.
There they are.
All right.
I've cast this forth. Sniper.
Must be cautious.
Allow me to repair the
Du
damage.
sterben nicht.
All right, so let's talk on target priority real quick. So what do we want to be shooting at? So we do not want to be shooting at tanks. We've seen this a little bit so far in our games, and especially like in this fight, so we'll talk about it here. Tanks aren't what we want to be shooting at. Tanks have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters. They have shields, they have tanking abilities, they have armor, and overall they're just very difficult to kill, right? In comparison, as well as the fact, right, that tanks, even though they're a very important role and they can carry, their job is to create space for the other roles, whereas DPS output damage and supports output healing, right? They're the ones who output statistics, and then therefore they're the ones that we want to be killing. Now here in this fight, and how we want to actively be seeking out supports in DPS, because we want to be actively seeking them out, is mainly off angling, because we're just sitting on the main angle, right, which is what we're doing here, where we're just kind of sitting down main, right? This means that we're just stuck shooting at shields and tanks, and that's what we do this fight for the most part, right? Whereas if we were taking a top right high ground, for example, now we can shoot at Widowmaker very easily, or we can shoot at Mercy or Ana or Genji, right? Anybody we wanted to there, we can shoot at very easily, whereas instead we're just stuck shooting at the tanks and the shields, which is that target priority is a part of a mechanics, right? Of who are we trying to shoot at. Now, that's the the big main thing here. That's not to say that we never shoot at tanks, right? We shoot at tanks when they're low, when they're out of position, when they're the only thing we can shoot at, such as if an off angle doesn't exist, right? Those are all instances in which we can shoot at tanks, but we don't want to prefer tanks. Now, on top of that, notice just target priority here, how we kind of swap around. We shot at the Reinhardt, and then we swap to the ball here, right, in a moment, and then we're about to swap over to like the Mercy. I think we swap to Reinhardt, and then we swap to Widow, and then we swap to Mercy, and then now we swap to looking at the Genji. So we're just kind of all over the place there. Noticing as well just actions for a minute, how we just kind of back off and stop doing stuff there. At the moment, when we see our teams just being shredded apart, we can see that we've lost this fight. We can probably get out very easily here. We do have a sprint, and we have a health pack and our health pack behind us. We also have our own health pack, so we can very easily get out here. Yeah, we just kind of lag behind, and we stay here way too long, and then that means that we're gonna end up staggering ourselves, which we seem to have a habit of doing. All right, so we try to stay in here, and we're not backing. We're not letting them kill us. We're just kind of in the middle here, and then therefore we're going to end up dying, and then we're going to end up staggering, right? So notice we do die. We inevitably die, right? Because once we waited around, there's no way we are getting out there, right? And then now let's look when we respawn. Our entire team's all the way up here, right? All the way up there, which means that if they're trying to re-engage, they're not going to have you. And all the issues that come out of staggering, right? If we do end up staggering, they have two choices. Either they wait for you, in which case you've just wasted time, and maybe you've made it so that they can't touch point, right? Or if they don't wait for you, now they're going in at a disadvantage, and they're more likely to stagger again or lose the fight, right? So they are, just make sure we're not staggering.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
And notice the range again in which we're purposefully putting ourselves. So here we're running forwards, and we could keep running forwards to where we're just up with our team at a more sort of medium distance. But notice how we now start to back up even further, back up, back up, back up, back up, and then we inch forwards and then we kind of stay still, and then we inch forwards a little bit. But just notice we're putting ourselves at a Widowmaker sniper distance, which is not what Soldier wants to be at, not what Hanzo wants to be at. So just keep in mind positioning, positioning, positioning. All right. So here,
I've got you in my sights. Target rich environment.
okay, I'd probably say most of the time it's not going to be very a very effective way to use your ultimate in between fights. You want to be using your ultimate during fights, not in between them, because that kill, like if you're getting one single kill to stagger them, that kill can just be accomplished a lot of the times just by shooting them normally and using your Helix, right, to finish them off, whereas an ultimate probably isn't needed there, whereas you probably want your ultimate for when they're all using their ultimates, when the fight's actually happening. So there we just end up pushing really far forwards, and we also like right up into their spawn when we're down a bunch of players, I think. So like right now we have we're down our Brig and Reinhardt, and we're pushing forwards into their spawn, which is going to mean that we're going to be at a disadvantage here, and then we're ulting even though the fight hasn't begun yet. So make sure we're watching or waiting till the fight's actually started, and we're not pushing forwards this far into their spawn. Preferably here now, we have other teammates who are doing this too, but preferably we'd probably be repositioning and then setting ourselves up on like this high ground over here, which would probably be the best positioning for you to be in at the moment. Okay, make sure instead of sitting here and shooting that you're just sprinting and trying to run away, right? We don't want to be sitting on main. We're half HP. We have mines around us. We have people looking at us. We're out in the open. Bad positioning. Everything right now should be screaming danger, 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 danger. Yeah, we're sitting here and shooting instead of running away, right? So right now we want to be turning and just sprinting and trying to get around the corner to safety. Whereas here we just kind of sit here, and therefore we just end up getting sniped, right?
Surrender to my will.
And then if we had not gotten sniped, we would have died to bombs, right? Died to mines. Okay, so we do swap to Symmetra here. Are you wanting to go over Symmetra here, or are you wanting to like skip over her?
We can skip over.
Skip over, okay. I'm just asking because sometimes people like want to go over specific characters, so I wasn't sure if
Everything
you
can
wanted to
be
go over her or
handled.
not. You
My
want to go over
business?
what are we on here? We're on Ash. Do you want to go over Ash? Or no,
Oh,
never mind. We swapped to Sombra. Do we want to go over
I'm out of
Sombra?
here.
Uh,
Oh, and then we swapped to Junkrat. So we're swapping around a lot here.
yeah,
Not too sure what to be on. Okay,
I
so
think that was the last soldier.
yeah, so what did you want to go over here? Do you want to go over all of them, just one of them, or
No, we
up to you?
don't have to go over um, any of.
You don't
I'm
want to go.
not. No, I know my mechanics are pretty bad. I just want to know like as far as like anything else that I could like work on, practice on.
Yeah, what you can do to practice on it.
Yeah.
That's you're asking? Okay, so when it comes to mechanics, right? So first off, let's see. I'm going to real quick link you up a YouTube video that just is where QD, if you're not familiar with him, he's an Overwatch League player. He just talks about practicing your mechanics, and he specifically gives an aim trainer, which I would probably recommend. Like if you're only playing the amount of time you're playing, I would only use it to warm up before you start hopping into a comp game, or in between queues. I wouldn't use it super often as that would detract from actual gameplay and time playing the game. So he goes over a little bit, so I'll just grab that for you real quick, and then I'll go more into it. One moment. I'm just gonna link it to you over in Discord. Okay, so besides that, let's talk about how to practice at things. So how you improve at your aim is the exact same way that you improve at anything that you're trying to improve at, and that is while you're playing, you're going to intentionally focus on it, your aim, right? So what that looks like is what that means is that you're not going to be autopiloting, you're not going to be just playing to play, and you're not going to be, contrary to popular belief, playing to win, as playing to win a lot of the times just leads to stagnation where you stay in the same place that you have been in for 2 years, because you're not improving. So when you focus on improvement, you are going to be winning more games as a result because you're getting better. Now, what that looks like within your gameplay, what your brain is going to look something like this, where you're going mechanics, 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 or crosshair placement, crosshair placement, crosshair placement, crosshair placement, right? Where you're constantly giving yourself that reminder to focus on how you're aiming, on how you're shooting, right? And making sure you're aiming ahead level and all the things we talked about, right? So when you're constantly giving yourself that reminder, you're going to start to notice, and you're focusing in on it, you're going to start to notice that your aim's looking more solid than usual because you're putting in that attention to how you're aiming. So when you do that for a long enough period of time, it starts to form a habit of positive aim, right? And once you form that habit, it sets it in as muscle memory, and you no longer need to you don't no longer need to focus on it as much unless it deteriorates due to rust, right? That's or you're trying to get it even better. But once you get it up to a good place, right, you no longer need to focus on it, and you can move on to a different area of things to focus on. Now we are talking about a lot of things here, so keep in mind that you're not going to want to go over every single thing all at once, as that will get overwhelming. Instead, focus on one category of things or 1 to 3 smaller things. And at the moment, it's really up to you on what you focus on first. But my recommendation from what I have seen so far, and we'll talk more on this at the very end of the session because we're only halfway through at the moment, right? So we'll finish it at the very end of the session. But as of the moment, the number one thing for you to work on would be your positioning, and then number two would come in at mechanics. So therefore, I'd probably focus on your positioning first, though if you feel like you want to go over mechanics first, be my guest. It's not super far behind positioning, so you wouldn't be terrible off if you try to focus on your mechanics first. And then I said one category or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category if you want to break it down even further. Right? That all makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So that's pretty much it. Warm up before you play. Top of that, I'd play typically while warming up. You can do the aim trainer that he provides in game, but also I'd also highly recommend doing like try hard free for alls, as that's a great place to practice your mechanics, and that's what I did as well when I started playing the game, was just in between queues play free for alls, and then that's a great place to practice mechanics, as it's just you and the enemies. There's no objectives, there's no teammates. It's just you in 1v1s or 1v2s, and you just purely practice your duels, right? Which allows you to get better with how you're aiming. And just while you're doing those and while you're playing your games, intentionally think about how am I using where am I placing my crosshair? How am I aiming? Making sure you're trying to track properly. Besides that, did you ever take a look at that video I had sent you before on sensitivity? Did you find a good sensitivity yet?
Yes, I looked at it. I found one.
Okay. Mhm.
And it was saying about the Shannon's Law thing.
Say that again.
I said I found one and I did it, and then I was about the Shannon Law, about the pixel skipping
Yeah,
and
so
everything.
that one, the pixel skipping, that one was one of the ones I think I've heard is more iffy, where like it's not um usually an issue for people. So I can't remember. That one might be like a little bit outdated, so I wouldn't worry too much about it unless you've seen any skipping. But in any case, like yeah, that one is one of the parts of the video that isn't as much of a big deal usually. But in any case, I think we can just go ahead and continue here. So did you want to, like, getting back to the replay here? Did you want to go over any of these characters?
Uh,
Ready for
yeah, that's fine. We can go over the rest of it if you like.
battle.
Okay.
'Cause I don't think I have another replay.
My
Okay,
business.
sounds good. So did
Ready
you want to
for
go back to
battle.
Symmetra, or did you want to skip? Did you want to skip past Symmetra?
Uh, you can go Metro. That's fine.
Okay, sounds good. So one thing I would recommend. So would you say? One moment. So when it comes to your playtime, would you say that you do this much frequent swapping, or is this kind of a just out of the ordinary game because you just weren't sure what you should be on?
Um, Most of the time I don't switch, but I just didn't know what we needed as a team.
Okay.
I know I don't talk on the mic as much either. I know that's a problem too. Like I don't know why people don't really like talk much or have mics on lower elo.
Yeah, there's just less communication, which
Yeah.
ultimately doesn't become an issue at all until you get to higher ranks, really, just because no one else is doing it anyways. So when it comes to what characters you should be picking, what characters are in your hero pool again? Like, what would you say are your best characters that you're trying to focus on?
I play junk. I'm trying to get better at hit scan because
Mhm.
like people have pharaohs and stuff, so I try to
Okay,
use three or
are you
loader.
so when you say that, are you trying to continue to play junk? Or so you say, so on looking at Fiverr, you said you mostly play junk and maybe May or Symmetra. Are you trying to look to continue to play those characters along with hit scan characters, or are you swapping over to hit scan characters from Junkrat and the others?
Um, I was trying to play them along with
Okay.
maybe like one like as projectile and then one hit scan that I'm
Okay.
like decent at.
Sounds good. So you're looking to kind of have like a four character-ish hero pool where we're doing junk, May, Sim, and then just one hit scan.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the moment, would you say that you're just trying to see which hit scan you like to, like, just 'cause I see you swap around a little bit, are you just trying to kind of test out which hit scan you want to play? Is that kind of what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay, and then and then Hanzo is typically considered a projectile character. Are you is he within the hits? Are you considering him within the hit scan category, or are you just playing him within the other projectiles?
Just projectile.
Okay, so um let's see. So within this game, we swap from Hanzo to, and then we're okay. Trying to think through this a little bit. So yeah, first off, I definitely would recommend trying to get into one hit scan, right? Like just try to figure out which one you want as fast as possible. That way you're not swapping around constantly. One thing I just would say with the swapping is try not to swap so
Ready for
frequently, as this
battle.
just means you're never gonna get an ultimate. Like if we skip through this game, let's see, do we get an ultimate? Right, we get up to 83, and then we swap the Junkrat, and then we get up to our tire. We actually tire once, but then we also swap again here. Looks like, oh, actually no, sorry, did we use another tire? No, we use a second tire. Okay, and then we swap to soldier. So just keep in mind that's going to keep resetting us on ultimates a couple times, as well as just meaning that we're spreading out our play time. So in terms of characters, I would just give a warning to make sure you're not spreading yourself too thin with your playtime, especially when you're already starting off with a limited amount of playtime, when you're only playing 2 to 3 times a week for 2 to 3. I think you said like 2 to 3 hours or something like that, right? When you're playing that little and you're spreading yourself too thin, that can lead to slow improvement because you're not focusing in on anything. So right now, if we were to say Junk, May, Sim, Hanzo, and then Hitscan, that's like 5 characters, right? If we spread out our play, if we were to hypothetically spread out our playtime between all those characters, right, we would have, I guess, like let's just to make it easy, let's add in an extra character just so you can see for the example, right? If we were to equally spread out our playtime, right, between 6 different characters, right, and let's say we have 600 hours, right, that's roughly 100 hours per character. That means that if we were to cut out half of those, let's say we go down to 3, well, now we've just doubled the amount of play time that we're learning positioning for the character. We're learning play styles, abilities, ultimates, and how to play that character specifically, which can lead to a lot faster improvement, right? Let's say we take that one step further and go down to 2 characters. Well, now we've just tripled the amount of time we have to play on that character, because now we're able to put even more time in and therefore learn the character even better. So I would just give you a warning that if you spread yourself too thin, then that can lead to slower improvement. Though it really depends upon your goals while playing. If your goal is to improve or to win games or to climb an SR or whatever, then this would be pretty good advice. Though if your goal is to have fun, you just play to have fun, and you have fun playing all these different characters, then go ahead and play all these different characters, because what really matters is if your objective is to have fun, then go ahead and have fun, right? It's a video game, right? So whatever you want to do with that. That out of everything I've said, this is the most up to you thing. I would just recommend trying to make sure you're like limiting your hero pool if your goal is to improve.
Okay.
All right. So continuing on, then let's go back to Symmetra. Go over Sim. And we swap around here.
The true enemy of humanity
Alright.
is disorder.
Let's move it, Lucio, coming at you. Check this out.
From light into being.
F it up.
Alright, let's look at our target priority a little bit here and how we're aiming at things, right? Just to demonstrate something here. So let's just call him out as we see him. So we go Reinhardt, we're breaking shield, Reinhardt shield, Ryan. He goes on the corner. We were on Reinhardt. We went to Moira, then we went back to Reinhardt. Now we're back on Moira. Now we swap to the Reinhardt back again, and then now we're not looking at Reinhardt a little bit. We're looking like behind him. Now we're like trying to shoot at the ball, but he's too far away. And then we're aiming at the Reinhardt again, and then we are now looking at the Genji. Now we're looking back at the Reinhardt, and therefore, because we just continue to swap around from target to target to target to target to target, we're only doing a little bit of chip damage to everybody, where we're doing, like, let's just say, like, if we swapped from target to target like 3, 4, 5 times there, we just did like 50 damage each, which means that nobody's dying and they can just heal it up very easily. Whereas if we were to combine 50 damage times 5, well, now we're getting 250 damage on one character, which can kill a character, right? So we want to make sure we're not just doing a tiny little bit of damage to each person, but we're putting it all on one person. And the only time we should be swapping is if we have a better target, right? Or if they just get away from us, right? So if we notice that we're on a tank and we want to be on something else, go ahead and swap to something else. Or if we notice someone's low or out of position, or if someone else who we were shooting at just got around the corner or something like that, right? Then we swap targets. But there we just swapped a bunch of targets unnecessarily, and then that led to us not really accomplishing very much. I'm also noticing us beaming a couple times when we're out of range, so pay attention to the range in which you can be beaming people, because sometimes we're overestimating it and we're trying to beam people from too far away. So just pay attention to that as well. here as well, we didn't utilize our TP at all. So with our TP, we could be doing a couple things here. So first off, I would say that maybe instead of just sitting on the front line, we maybe could have teleported up to high ground and then just beamed them from above, which could have been a pretty valid option here. We could have also gone for a TP bomb. Are you familiar with what a TP bomb is?
Um, no.
No. So we can demonstrate that in a minute, I think. So in any case, we could have gone for that. We could go for and then if we want to go from the front line, we could also just place down a TP so that our team can just go up to high ground whenever they want, right? Just give our team access, right? Even if we don't want to do it. So overall, just using our TP, right? Actually utilizing it, right?
Turret defeated.
And if we wanted to, maybe we could even just use it as an off angle, like we could place a TP from here to over here, and maybe we can just shoot at them from the side or the back or something like that, right? All different ways that we can use it. We just want to actually utilize it.
I will follow my path.
Heal up.
Trying to think.
Teleporter
So we do
online.
go.
We move.
So
quickly.
here we're trying to do a TP bomb. So we're at 5 minutes and 50 seconds. So let's go over how to actually do a TP bomb. So there we throw it on TP and then we try to send in some turrets through it. Whereas this isn't a very effective way to do a TP bomb because then they see the TP, they're able to they have extra time to look at it and then they can destroy the turret super easily. So
The
how
true
you
enemy of
do a
humanity
teleport
is
TP
disorder.
bomb, which is we'll demonstrate in a moment here. So you're going to throw all 3 of your turrets
Defenses
down
in
in one
place.
place right on the floor here, right? And then you're going to stand right behind them, and then you're going to take your teleporter and you're going to put it behind the enemy team, right? So once they push out here, we're just going to teleport it down there, right? And
My
then now this
teleporter is
teleports the
online.
turrets, all 3 of the turrets, into one spot behind them, and then that's how you teleport bomb because now they have TPs behind them, turrets behind them that are just melting them, right? Whereas if we're trying to just do it one by one, well, now this means that they're taking less damage, and then it also alerts them to the fact that the TP is there, so they have more time to
Order is
destroy it, a lot less
restored.
likely to actually do anything, right? So that's how we want to be doing it. On top of that, we also just kind of plopped it straight on cart instead of behind them, which again gives them extra time to look at it and destroy it, right? So that's how you do TP bomb. Just look to be doing that, and then we can also go in with it if we wanted to here. And then once we feel pressured or the turret's about to break, then we can just TP back out, right? So just look to be doing stuff like that, right? Where we're just coming in and shooting, that type of thing.
Welcome to Junkrat. Ready for battle.
Teleporter online. We move quickly.
The payload is approaching its destination.
Okay, good job getting your beam up.
Sentry deployed.
Holding down our beam when we're not hitting anything, just pause and just stop shooting. That way we can actually not be wasting our ammo. And if Reinhardt were to come around the corner, like let's say for example here we're trying to shoot at Reinhardt, we're only gonna have 15 ammo left, so we might be running out of ammo when he's like 1 HP, right? So we want to conserve our ammo and not use it when we're shooting at nothing. Alright, so let's look at that real quick. So we are shooting at the Reinhardt, which is fine, but then we look at the Moira, and then give up at shooting the Moira when she's like half HP, and there's also a Reinhardt who we could be shooting at. So here we just kind of give up at shooting at people, and we could just be melting the Moira now. We're at a beam 3. We could shred her at the moment, but we stopped shooting at her for some reason there. Now on top of that, we also decide that we want to wall here, which probably isn't needed, or it definitely is not needed. We have won this fight at the moment, right? As of the moment, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus a 1, 2, 3, 4. Reinhardt is 1 HP, but we also have a Hanzo who's 1 HP. But the big thing to note at the moment is that we also have another advantage. So let's talk about why 2 is the middleman, right? Because we said before the numbers are 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3, right? The reason why 2 is in the middle is because there's a whole heck of a lot of other things that go into whether you're winning or losing besides just up or down players, right? So which team has better positioning, which team has more health, which team has more ultimates, which team is using more ultimates, which team has more abilities, which team has closer spawns, right? So if you are up, let's say you're down 2 people, yet you have a advantage. So let's say they're right now it's a 4v5, right? They're down people, but they also have a sorry, words, but they also, our whole team is like 1 HP. Well, now they might be able to get a bunch of kills and bring it back around. Or let's say they're down 2 people, but then they have close spawns. Well, now they might be able to bring it around, right? So they have a significant advantage that's aiding them. So that's all the things that go into it. Now here, at the very moment, I would not say maybe we've won this fight yet, but I would at least be hesitant to use your ultimate because of the advantages in which we're at. Reinhardt is 1 HP. We have better positioning. We have close spawns here, right? Because we're going to be getting our players back much, much faster. So at the moment, I wouldn't say we've necessarily won this fight, though I would be hesitant to use our ultimate, especially when we could be getting this Moira and Reinhardt kills very easily at the moment. So I would just maybe be hesitant at the moment, just considering all the factors here, to be using an ultimate. On top of that, a lot of the time you're going to want to, and then we also immediately get the Reinhardt, so immediately goes from being a, like a second afterwards goes from being a 5v4 to being a 5v3, which is almost certainly a one fight, considering all the other advantages, right? On top of that, a lot of times when you're throwing a Symmetra wall, you're going to want to opt for a straight wall, like a wall right in front of you. This allows you to do a wall dance, right, or a shield dance, right, where you can go when, for example, like let's say Widowmaker's on the high ground, she goes top right, you go left, she goes left, you go right, you just kind of go back and forth, and she can never really shoot you effectively. Whereas if we just throw it this way, well, now if Widow wants to, all she needs to do to be able to shoot at anybody is just run past the shield, right? So a lot of the times that's going to be a lot more effective, unless their like entire team was like over here on this side. Like let's say the only way that'd be effective is like if their entire team is positioned over here, right, where you're blocking off their entire team. So that'd be an example in which you could do it, but a lot of times you're going to go for the straightforward wall.
Turret online. My teleporter is online.
Okay, I do like that TP. That's a good idea. Though maybe I would make it so that it's in a slightly safer position. So for example, let's see, because let's say it could get destroyed here if they push the cart forwards a little bit, but and also it's just out in the open a little bit. So here maybe we could place a TP from like here to here, and then that might be very difficult for them to break because both ends are kind of hidden. Or we could do from over here to up there, which should just make it so that it has a little bit more cover to work with. So just ideas rather than just placing it kind of on straight out in the open. But I guess it's behind card a little bit, so it's not terrible. It's just maybe could have had a slightly better idea. Is that on the moving platform? Yeah, it is. Okay, so also maybe place it on not the moving platform. That way it's a little bit more stationary and you know where you're going when you're TPing through. Whereas, like, let's say somebody's just trying to get to the high ground. They don't want to be all the way over here on this side of the high ground, right? So, another idea there. Whenever you shoot, you're going to want to fully charge those. You're not going to want to just tap it, so hold it down until it gets fully charged. It's kind of the same thing with the Hanzo arrow, is you're going to be able to control the projectile speed much better. With those, you're going to be doing like 5 HP of damage every time you hit them. Not a lot. So you're going to be tickling people, whereas if you hit a big gold chunky one, I think it does like 120. So you're going to be doing a whole heck of a lot more damage if you're firing off fully charged ones.
Sentry deployed.
There we just kind of seem to lose track of ball. We could maybe shoot at him a bit more, if at the very, very minimum, just getting our left click up to full charge here. Ball just kind of rolls past us and we like kind of stop looking at him after 2 seconds, even though we could just continue to be shooting at him, right? He goes behind us and then we just forget he exists. The Reinhardt's also not a terrible person to be shooting at. Very nice, though again, stop shooting once there's nobody to shoot at. And then here we're looking at a wall.
Oh, let's break it. Yeah!
from light into
Yeah, and make sure we're not holding down beam and then we're not shooting anything. It's just wasting our ammo. It's gonna mean that we have to reload when the Reinhardt's like right on top of us. Also noting that we're out in the open at the moment, not really using cover too well. Though that wall was pretty solid. Yep. So far, I'd probably say we're kind of seeing things staying the same. So I'd maybe say so if we were to readjust the priorities a little bit, I'd probably say positioning goes to a high priority, mechanics stays at a medium high priority, awareness drops to a medium priority, and then both ability usage and ultimate usage both stay at a low to medium priority. And that's kind of where everything's sitting for the moment. Okay, so we swapped to Ash, but we're about to swap in like 2 seconds.
Attackers incoming.
Here it comes.
Escort the payload.
follow my lead.
Okay, there we throw in a dynamite, but we don't have any. We didn't actually go to detonate it. Probably go for to detonate it. Out of curiosity, what was the reason why we swapped instantly there?
I think it was because of ball.
Because of ball. Okay, so you saw ball and you wanted to swap to Sombra so you can hack him. Okay, sounds good. They were on ball last round, so usually people will keep. There's a pretty solid chance that people keep their characters between rounds. Like if you were to look at their team composition, they're on Widow, Hanzo, Ryan, Ana, Ball, Bap. Like if we were to look at last round, they're on Widow, Genji, Ana. So basically they swap 2 characters, right, and that's it. So there's typically a pretty good chance that characters are gonna continue to play what they're on. So I would just be maybe expecting it. That way we're not just wasting 10 seconds of time. If we wanted to be on the Sombra, we could have swapped to that instantly as an idea.
Ahorita regreso.
Okay. Probably don't want to be placing our teleporter there, as we're going to have really far walk to get back to the fight whenever we do get back to the fight. Whereas if we, for example, just place our teleporter like just here on the stairway, we can go in, teleport back, get healed up by our teammates, and then just go in again much faster. Whereas here, we're going to teleport all the way back to the spawn, have to run in the spawn, and then walk all the way back, which would take us much, much longer. So just placing it closer to the fight. Also here, the reason why Sombra has a cloak is so that she can get behind the enemy team super easily. There's no reason to be sitting here in the front line when you can just go invisible and then just run right here. Well, now from this angle, no one's gonna see, the people aren't going to be ready for you to be behind them. You can get the hack on Reinhardt very easily, and then Reinhardt just gets melted by our team. So we want to be getting behind them from the front. We're gonna have to compete with a shield, and we're going to have like 5-6 people shooting at us, which will just cancel our hack very easily, and Reinhardt can just adjust with the shield up a little bit, and then therefore you can't hack him. So overall, get behind, don't come from the front, especially on a character like Sombra where you can very easily just cloak behind. Okay, now, you do get it off, but that's just because Reinhardt's not looking at you for some reason, or shielding. Okay, so we're at 10 seconds. So we've talked about the other characters being medium range character. Sombra is not a medium range character. Sombra is a close range character. So this is about paying attention to the ranges in which characters, work. So here, if we're trying to snipe someone from, if we're at a medium range, right? Like, no, or I guess let's go from front to back, right? So here, let's do body shots just because this will be easiest, right? Body shots, melt someone pretty fast, right? Go to 10 meters right away, melt someone pretty fast, right? Pretty much the same. 15 meters, right? Melt someone pretty fast, right? 20 meters, okay? Now this is where we'll probably start to see a little bit of an issue, right? Now that took a little bit longer, right? Right, getting back to 25. Well now, oh, well, that took us almost a full clip, right? So now we notice like how up here it takes us by the time we kill him, we have 35 ammo left, right? Back here, by the time we kill him, right? we have 0 ammo left, and we didn't even kill him, right? So we're taking almost twice the amount of time, twice the amount of shots to kill these people, right? So our damage from up there to right here just got halved, right? Yeah, this is the we were trying to shoot at people from this distance, right? We're trying to pepper them from back here, which is going to be doing very little amount of damage, right? Especially when they're moving around and not standing still for you, and they're getting healed and they're running behind shields. So therefore, Sombra is a close range character, not a mid range character. She does not prefer long mid ranges or at all, right? She does not prefer long ranges at all, right? Instead, we want
See you
to
later.
go invisible, right? Run up next to them or behind them, right? We have a translocator back there, right? We're gonna run up next to them, behind them.
Gotcha.
We might hack,
Iniciando el
and then we're gonna
futuro.
shoot at them from behind, right? Just very easy way to approach Sombra. Get up next to them. Don't stand like really far away from them because you'll be doing a
Aw,
whole heck of a lot
pobrecito.
more damage when you're close to people, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to Ready for Battle.
I am ready to.
So here we're just kind of pelting people from a distance.
Here I am. Much better.
Crosshair placement, right? Notice we're placing a crosshair. On top of that, maybe crouch walk, so you can spam crouch. You go crouch walk, right? That way we're muting or muffling our sounds a little bit. It makes it harder for people to know we're here. Also, before we turn the corner, I would probably, probably say go invis here, right? That way we can wait a moment. Like if we're sitting here invis, they can't see us, and then we can wait for Widowmaker. Here, I think she reloads. Or no, she's reloading right now, so this is probably the worst time to be shooting at her because right a couple seconds ago she was standing still. She wasn't moving around at all, right? That would have been a very easy target to hit because it's very easy to hit standing still targets who have big hitboxes. So if we just waited an extra, we're in this and we waited a couple extra seconds, well, we could wait until she's standing still again, and then it becomes a very easy kill to get. So go in this, wait for her to be standing still, don't go in immediately.
I'm out of here.
Made real.
Notice how he just shields very easily.
Require assistance.
Go invis, go behind.
Later.
Okay. Don't try to do stuff from the front, it's not gonna work.
Genius.
Request healing, we're sitting at 15 HP at the moment. Alright.
Be right back. Some shotgun.
Alright. So we're just kind of playing Sombra as a character wrong there, right? Basic combo is TP down either on a health pack if there's one close or just near your team. Go behind, get close, hack and shoot, teleport. Once you get pressured, you teleport out, and then you repeat, right? It's basic combo on Sombra. Instead, what we're doing is we're kind of sitting with our team, and we're trying to hack from the front, which can be if you're trying to go for a ball and focus ball, that's fine, right? That's actually an okay way to play a Sombra. If you're intentionally trying to focus the ball, but here we're not even. A lot of times there we weren't even focusing the ball. We were trying to hack the Reinhardt, right? Which is not going to be an effective way to go if you're playing from the front line, right?
Stop me if you've heard this one before.
Healing you now.
Oh, that's a good spot.
Okay, at the moment I'd probably be taking high ground since we have mines and can get there very easily instead of just chilling on cart. We don't need to be on cart right now, we instead probably want to be repositioning. So remember, in between every single fight, we want to be repositioning to the best place possible. That way we can have the best positioning, and here we could contest the Baptiste very easily from up there.
This bomb's for you.
Don't toss mines out. Okay, so mines, like soldier helixes, act as finishers. Pretty much the 2 times in which you want to be using mines are for mobility to move around and as a finisher to finish someone off. So you hit them with when they're low HP, you throw in a mine to finish them off. Are most of the time what you're going to want to be using it for. Now there are the other occasions in which you can use it differently, such as if you're just tossing into a group of people to displace them and whatnot. Those are options. But here, when we're just tossing it straight at a ball, all this is doing is making it so he gets hooked, and then we just toss in a mine and make it harder for we just basically let him escape because we make it harder for every single person on our team to shoot at him just because we're booping him around, right? We don't want to boop people around. Instead, we want to just let the ball roll around. That way, it's much easier for a whole team to shoot at him than if we were just booping him. So use it as a way to, instead of just mining him, shoot at him normally. On top of that, maybe I'd place trap like on cart if that's going to be instead of just leaving it back here, right? If we're moving the cart's just gonna keep pushing forwards, and then the trap just keeps being laid left behind. So if we're trying to get ball in it, maybe just place it on cart where ball might be likely to go. On top of that, we throw mine into nothing there.
Here we go. Payload's moving up.
Okay. Again, noting how we're using it as a engager, not a finisher. Okay. And then on Junkrat, out of all the characters, right, we talked about their different ranges. Junkrat is a close to mid-ranged character. So he does not like to play at long ranges. He can play at long ranges, but he doesn't prefer it because he's going to be very, very inaccurate. And then he does very much like close ranges because he can do like one-shot combos on people very easily, but he can also do mid-ranges. So Junkrat prefers a close to mid-range, whereas so far we've been playing probably mid to long range with him. So I'd probably say be getting a little bit closer with our Junkrat gameplay. And besides that, our passiveness again has just kind of happened. We're just kind of been sitting there.
Rise and jump. This one's for you.
60 seconds remaining.
Touch from afar.
I have found the enemy area. The Crusaders!
You'll like this one.
Are you ready? Here I come.
Move it up.
Yep. So far, we're playing Junkrat the way that most low-ranked Junkrat players think that Junkrat's supposed to be played. Where we just kind of sit in the back and we shoot, and that's all we do, right? Where we just kind of spam in shots and then hope we kill things. Whereas typically that's not how Junkrat likes to be played, as that's going to be, again, very inaccurate. We're going to be missing a lot of our shots. We're not going to be able to accurately use our trap or our mines, and we're going to be very far away to be using our tire. And overall, it's not a great way to play Junkrat just because we're missing out on a lot of potential. So instead, play closer, go for more combos where you go left click mine, and then that can be a very easy one shot of people to just go boom, you're dead. So overall, just play Junkrat more for actually hitting your shots instead of just spamming them in and hoping that they connect. Now, there are certain times where you can be playing Junkrat for spam, especially I'd probably say more so like when your team is poking or you're very far away from them or you're on defense. Those are all instances where you can spam a little bit more often, but here we definitely want to be closing the distance to be doing more things rather than just sitting in the back spamming the entire time.
Oh, this will be good.
30 seconds remaining.
Clock's ticking. Attack.
Get into position.
The hunt. Fire in the hole.
Kill feed, paying attention to what's going on. Right now it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 versus a 1, 2, right? This is a 1 fight. Maybe they'll get a third player, but but we're also getting our player back too, right? So by the time Hanzo gets okay, yes, they're getting Anna and Hanzo, right? But we probably want to hold on to it till then anyways, because then they'll be more grouped up and our tire will actually accomplish more than just getting 1 kill anyways. So here I would hold on to it, that way we can wait and to see if we actually need it. Whereas here it's probably going to be, if we wait like probably 5 more seconds, it's going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus a 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll be at a, and then if we, in that time, we might actually get a kill on the Reinhardt because Hog's ulting him anyway. So here, Reinhardt's probably dead anyways, even without our tire. And then that's just pretty much an overkill tire where it probably isn't going to accomplish very much. So probably not needed.
An expedient solution. The payload has reached.
Could just use it for the next fight, right? That did not need 2 mines. We can get up that distance in one mine, definitely. Larry, but you can see how the momentum is probably going to keep carrying us up. That's not a distance that would require 2 mines.
And so
That's one of the reasons why Junkrat doesn't want to be playing at this distance, just because of how terrible your mine is going to be at this range. So not going to be able to do it very effectively with that. Instead of doing that, what I would probably be doing with your mine is just using it to get over here, and then this would put you at a much closer range to people in which you can do things from, and a good off angle instead of just sitting on main. Like this is the range in which both their snipers prefer, right? Their Hanzo and Widowmaker would absolutely love it if you decided to play this range from them all game, because now you're playing a close to mid-range character at their range, which they prefer, right? Whereas if we go to the left, now we're closing the distance and we're getting a lot closer, which will allow us to do more things, right? Okay. They hit those shots, you're dead, right? So just keeping that in mind. If they hit one extra shot, which they might do at a little bit of a higher rank, that you'd be dead in that situation. So we just want to watch our positioning, make sure we're not standing on the open for too long. Oh, reacted a little bit slowly to that on top of that. So like once we see him dragoning, we see, okay, well, we can see where he's aiming. We can see that he's probably gonna be looking in our direction. So as soon as he starts to dragon, we should probably be looking just back up out of the way. Here we could just run to the right side instead we try to mine like straight upwards and then we get caught by it. So just a little bit slow of a reaction.
Why is the payload stopped?
Personne n'est
Not really aiming at anything in particular here.
I'm so scared.
And just kind of play Junkrat like a sniper, which, does end up getting a kill there, but it's not the effective way in which he likes to be played, right? It can work. It's kind of the same thing as Hanzo is. He can play from that distance, but he does not like to play from that distance, right? So it is possible to get kills like you just got. It's just you can get a lot more kills if you're playing at a closer distance, where his kit prefers him to be playing. Now while we're waiting for our team to group up, that's a fine to be doing that. Alright, I like the tire timing here. Though it does just end up getting rolled by their snipers. So here, probably take a less out in the open route. So if first off, we're trying to get on these guys over here, that'd be like an easy 2K there. We went on them. So here you can wrap around below if you wanted. You can come this way if you're afraid that Widowmaker's just going to snipe it. You can maybe go up a little bit and then drop on them from above. But instead we kind of come this wide open area. So keep in mind with your tire that the exact same concept of positioning applies to your tire that it does to you. Is good positioning is usage of cover, bad positioning is absence of cover. If we're leading our tire through this area where there's a very big absence of cover, this is going to be super easy for Widowmaker to snipe it, right?
60 seconds.
Which is what just ends up happening, right?
Let's get this daylight rolling.
Okay. Bad positioning on the open, too far of a range.
We're all
Positioning.
30 seconds remaining.
I don't play by the rules anymore.
I'm under attack.
Alright.
This will heal you. 10 seconds.
Probably be taking this time to repositioning reposition up to the high ground above us, right? Reposition in between fights instead of just kind of chilling here on point.
Nano boost that
Notice our crosshair placement, how we're aiming low at the ground.
Unstoppable.
Rocket barrage incoming.
So at the moment, we're just not too sure what we should be doing.
with it.
Maybe we thought Widowmaker's up there. We wouldn't be looking around to her unless we heard her specifically up there.
I thought I don't know why I thought Anna was up there because I got Auntie.
Yeah, I think she was on the top left, all the way over on their high ground. So we can actually see the direction in which we take damage. So when we get anti here, pay
Oh, I see
attention.
it.
Wait, oh, I guess anti-nade doesn't. Why doesn't anti-nade not show you the hit markers? That's weird. Has that always been a thing?
I am
I can see her up there by the billboard.
Yeah. So I was trying to show. Oh yeah, it does show us hit markers. So look
Okay, I see it.
look at your crosshair here, as how it will show you the direction in which you're taking the damage from. So that will give you more insight into where the damage is actually coming from, and you can actually look for her better.
With it.
So notice how the entire fight's happening and we have not done anything yet, right? So just actions per minute, right? Doing things, right? Make sure we're participating here because we're not participating at all, right? Shooting at Reinhardt when we could be shooting at Ana, who would just be a much, much better target to be shooting at.
I'm on fire.
Come here.
Okay,
get
placing down health pack for when nobody needs health pack.
An expedient solution.
Shooting at nothing, right? Just there's a couple times during this game where we just kind of have brain farts and are like just kind of not really sure what to do with ourselves. This is like one of those fights, like where before in these other fights we're doing things like it seems like, you know, as we get what we're supposed to be doing here, we just kind of sitting around and shooting at air and, you know, not really sure what we should be doing, right? So we just, and then looking for Ana who's not there, right? So we just want to make sure we're paying attention and, you know, actually being in the game. Yeah, what ends up happening here? Because we end up losing in like 10 seconds. We see 9. Unfortunate, man. That sucks. Okay, so why don't we exit out here? You said you didn't have another code? Yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay, so why don't we let's see how much time we have after we do the review. So we're gonna go over the main points, do a review mixed in there, and then wrap up the session from there. So main points of the session, right? We went over a bunch of different characters.
With every death.
So let's see. Main point number 1 was positioning, right? Just because there's a whole heck of a lot of things that came in with positioning. Though keep in mind that the other 2 things are very closely intertwined. Too, right? I'd probably say the other things are also big as well. So positioning, pay attention. I guess just first off, good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover, right? The basics of positioning. Secondly, high grounds are great. Take high grounds, right? Thirdly, take off angles, right? On characters that want off angles, and take flanks only on characters that can sustain and be on flanks though, and try not to do them in the middle of fights, right? On top of that, take the ranges in which characters specialize at, as we want to be, we adjust our playstyle when we're playing different characters, and we kind of had the same basic medium to long range on every single character we were playing, when that does not, like, pretty much no character we played likes that range, right? We kept the same range on, like, every character. I'd probably say Symmetra was, like, the one character that we actually played our range appropriately, because on Symmetra, I think we got that we wanted to be closer, and we actually pushed up closer, but Hanzo, medium distance, 15 to 35. Soldier, pretty much the same. What else did we go over? Symmetra, close range. Sombra, close range, probably within 10 to 15 meters, or 10 to 15 meters max, right, would be the range, or whatever her beam range is. Symmetra, same thing. Or sorry, Sombra, same thing. Besides that, what else did we go over? We went over, thinking. We went over Junkrat, close to medium range, so I probably say, like, you want to cap out at, like, 20 meters if, is the preference, right? So here is a preference there, and then anything within that, right? Whereas, like, we never got that close at all. We constantly just kept to this distance, which is going to make it very, very inaccurate. Very, very difficult to kill things, right? I'm not even sure if are you aware of how to do the Junkrat's, like, one-shot combo?
With the bomb and then the mine.
Yep, like, to be honest, I wasn't even sure if we knew that or not because of the range, like, the range in which we were playing. Like, it's so insanely difficult to do it from back here. Like, how are we supposed to do that? Like you can't even do it very effectively at all. Or, like, because we have to arc it so incredibly hard that it just becomes so difficult to actually land that at a distance when they're all moving around. So we want to be much closer to where we can just do that and instantly blow somebody up. And actually aim our shots, where if somebody's at that distance, it's going to be very, very difficult. Like, even on bots in the training range, who typically are pretty easy to hit, it's actually going to be probably, like, very difficult to actually land our shots effectively at a distance on even bots here. So we want to be getting much, much closer to where we can actually land our mines and land our normal shots, right? To where we can actually do more on Junkrat, right? Besides that, moving on, let's see, I think that was most of positioning. Sombra get behind people, right? Or take off angles, right? Off angles get you around shields and tanks, right? Let you shoot at their backline. High grounds act as off angles if they're above the enemy team, right? But it doesn't. It acts as a high ground, or as an off angle if they're right below us. If they're all the way over there, it does not, right? Besides that, moving on, mechanics was number 2. Within this, we have crosshair placement. Make sure that we are aiming at head level, and we're aiming where we know people are going to be. This leads to easy shots, right? On Hanzo, make sure we're fully charging our shots. Make sure we're aiming above people. Besides that, on other characters, let's see. I don't think there's anything specific to any of the other characters who played. No, I don't think there's anything specific for anybody else, but besides that, make sure that we are also keeping up actions per minute, that we're actually doing things, but we're not just kind of sitting around not doing anything, but we're actually participating. Besides that, what was the other one I was thinking of in my head? That is target priority, right? Who should we be shooting at? Don't shoot at tanks. Don't shoot, instead shoot at supports and DPS, right? Unless tanks are out of position or they're low, or the only thing we can shoot at. Besides that, moving on, make sure we're not swapping from target to target to target, right? We're not going you, right? We're not just doing that. Instead, we're focusing on one thing until they're dead, unless we get a better opportunity or they run away from us. Number 3 is going to be your awareness, and this is, all 3 of these are so close that this could be enough. Like, this very well could be tied for number 1. So what we need to do, it's awareness / aggression, right? Make sure we're paying attention to our health bar. Request healing when you're low. This will get you healing much faster. Besides that, make sure that we are paying attention to kill feed, right? As a quick reminder, it's 1 to 2, and then 2 to 3 is an advantage or disadvantage versus a won or lost fight. When you are winning, you go more aggressive. When you're losing, you play more passive. When you've won or lost, no ults. And then when you've lost the fight, you want to look to get out. Or if you can't, let them kill you so that you're not staggering yourself. We staggered ourselves a lot, right? Top of that, there's a lot of other things that go into whether or not you've won or lost. That's why 2 is the middleman, right? Like, which team has more ults, better positioning, closer spawn, more abilities, more health, right? All these different things that will go into that. Pay attention to those things as well. Pay attention to where's my team and where's the enemy team, so we're not losing track of people. And then those are all the main things. And then also just aggression scaling, right? We try to be at 50% on average or as a default, and then we adjust it up and down accordingly. Whereas so far in our gameplay, it was more so like on most of our characters, we were hovering around like 20 to 30% on a default, whereas it should be a 50% on default, right? Moving on to number 4. Number 4 is probably going to be, let's see, what is number 4 going to be? Number 4 is going to be our ultimate usage probably here. Ult usage, make sure that we are not using ults in won or lost fights, that we're paying attention to when we're winning or losing. Then we're not using it in between fights, but we're using it during fights. And then besides that, just we're not delaying it too long, but for the most part, ultimates are pretty decent. And then abilities comes in last. Lots of different things for all the different characters. Let's go through them. On Hanzo, Sonic, where people are going to be, right? So the area in which will cover the most amount of space. So right here, if we're just looking down this, if we're assuming that the enemy team is like on this right side of the map, where would be the best place to be sonicking?
If we're looking straight down,
Yep. If we're looking at this angle right now,
probably at the blue boxes.
Blue boxes.
Yeah.
I would probably say in this corner, right? Because it covers the most space. If we were to fire at blue boxes, right, that would mean that we miss out on covering the stairway and this high ground as well. Whereas if we were to aim right here, we would, or even maybe like right here, we would be able to cover other side of that high ground and this right side because we're placing it in the middle of all three. Whereas if we just place it on blue boxes, let's see, does it even? It might cover the might cover that guy. It does cover it a little bit, but doesn't cover a lot because he just gets out of it really easily. So I'd aim up higher, get it so that it's covering more of this general area. So you want to place it in the middle of where you're trying to get it, right? So whereas over here, instead of placing it low, we place it in the middle. That way we can cover high ground and low ground, right? Besides, so use it more often. Don't try to hit people directly with it. Leap it more often. It's a 5-second. Oh, it's actually a 5-second cooldown. I thought it was a little bit faster, but it's still a cooldown that comes back pretty fast. You're gonna be getting it pretty frequently. Use it when coming back out of spawn. Moving on. Let's see. We also did Junkrat. Ability combos. Don't just mine people around because if we mine people first, it can be very, very difficult to follow up with the other shot for a whole team. Trap. I think you did decently with it. Just make sure to place it on cart if you're just so that it's just moving with you. Besides that, it does not require 2 mines to cover this simple distance. It just needs 1 mine, right? You can go pretty high with 1 mine, so it doesn't require 2. And then besides that, just look to be closer so we can go for the one-shot combo. That's gonna result like going for that combo is probably gonna be like half of your kills. Just off of that combo, right? You're getting a lot of them off of that, so be looking for that. Moving on, other characters, let's see. Use cover with your tire as well. Thinking. What were the other characters we played? We played Soldier.
We're all
Make sure that we're not just plopping down healing whenever it's not necessary. Make sure we're using Helix as a finisher, right? The same way we're using mine as a finisher, right? Because when we use it as a finisher, right, when we get that big burst of 120 damage in, right, where we do this and then they die instantly, they don't have time to heal, they don't have time to get away, they don't have time to escape or shoot you back and kill you, and then therefore burst damage. That's why burst damage is going to be very, very effective, is because it allows us to burst someone down very, very fast, and they don't have time to do all that. Whereas if we were to Helix them first, well, now they are alerted to the fact that they need healing, and then now they have all of that HP's worth of time to heal and to try to run away from you and whatnot, and do all those things we just talked about. So you want to use Helix as a finisher for most of the time. The only time you wouldn't is if they don't know you're here and you're far away from them. So in the time it takes Helix to get to them, you might be able to sneak in some shots and then finish them off. So there are times in which you would Helix first, but not a lot, or not very often. So like here we could do that and then just burst them down by the time Helix gets to him, right? So it can actually be an even faster burst than if we were to Helix second, right? Because if we were to Helix second, then that would actually take longer, right? Besides that, moving on, Sombra, TP down, cloak, right? Run next to or behind, hack if needed, right? And then we can shoot at them. Once we get pressured, we TP back, we get healed, we place TP back down, we cloak, and we do this, and then we repeat. Don't try to just sit on the front line. That's not how Sombra wants to operate. Try to hack from behind. And then moving on, Symmetra, TP. Just make sure we're actually placing our TP and we're not holding on to it. TP bombing, like so, right? Place it behind them, not in front of them, right? Moving on, let's see, is there anybody else that we went over? I think that was pretty much it, right? I think we covered everybody, right?
Yep.
So that was pretty much it. So those are all the main points of the session then. Do you have any questions about anything that we've talked
we're
about?
all soldiers now.
Or just anything else that has to do with the game?
No, just need to go practice. And I did the little jitter thing, but I wasn't getting any jitter, so I'm probably gonna drop my DPI back down to 800.
So say that again. What were you doing?
The little jitter scale thing, but you said
Yeah.
I'm just gonna convert my DPI back down then.
Okay, yeah, DPI.
Oh.
I mean, I have my DPI at 800. What do you currently have your sensitivities at? So, or I guess your DPI and sensitivity.
It was at 1600, 3.33 because I did the little scale thing, but I'm gonna convert it back down to 800.
Yeah. Yeah, like I haven't. 800 is a really common DPI. I think that's like usually what people stick around that. So there should be no issue with you having it at an 800 sensitivity. Though let me check real quick. So you said what do you currently have it at? You have it at 1600 by what?
3.33.
All right, so that's a pretty decent sensitivity. So shouldn't have no problems with that. Just keep practicing at it, especially like if you're adjusting to it, that might explain inaccuracy as well in the gameplay you're in, just for general mechanics. Because that's another part of mechanics and he works on, was just generally aiming and tracking. Which if you're working with a newer sensitivity, that's gonna happen, right? So no other questions, yeah.
No, that was it, man.
Okay, so let me see here. I'm gonna stop the